Okay, hello guys. I know it's been a while, like 2 months, maybe 3 months, maybe even, I don't know. Anyway, I wasn't posting much, I guess, because the virus kind of got me down. I've been working a lot on my art, you know, that kind of stuff. But anyway, oh, and by the way, I apologize if you hear my kitten in my bedroom. I got a kitten a few weeks ago and she is just way too rambunctious to even attempt to film with her in the room, so she is in the bedroom for now. So as I said in the previous video, this video, I would have called it the next video in the last video, referring to this video, will be about my ego death experience on mushrooms. It was crazy. It really was crazy. Like, I had done mushrooms about 7 times before I got to this point. And to be honest, I didn't really think anything of the term ego death. I thought that every time I tripped out was an ego death. I know that's stupid thinking that now, but I just didn't know anything about it or what it was. And it's like, as far as I was concerned, every time I did acid, I felt like really spiritual, and I thought about like deep shit on acid. So I thought that that's what an ego death was. So I feel like, I don't know why I experienced ego death when I did. I mean, I guess it was probably one of the first trips where it was just like sitting and chilling and not watching TV or something like that. Also the fact that the previous day I watched Into the Wild, which is one of my favorite movies. And that movie is extremely, extremely spiritual. It really makes you think about life and just have really deep thoughts. So I had watched that the night before. So I was already kind of going into it with that mindset a little bit. I feel like the day before your trip does affect your trip the day of. I mean, this is a good example. So anyway, this trip I was completely ready. A lot of times before a trip I can get really anxious, but this time I wasn't. I don't know if I just wasn't letting it get to me or what, but I didn't feel that anxious on the come up at all. And I had built a blanket fort, which was freaking amazing. And I put it like here. You can't really see this area here, but it's like a little area. So I put some chairs here. I backed up the chair here. It was literally just a little blanket hut. And then I had a ton of blankets. Like, I own a lot of blankets. I had all the blankets on the floor, a bunch of pillows. And then I had my favorite light, which is right here, which you probably also can't see. This one. It glows like a really warm yellow. It's just amazing to have when I'm tripping. I just love it. So I had that in there. In the come up, I didn't go into the blanket fort until I really felt the come up. But until then, I was just kind of hanging out with my boyfriend, just chilling. And when I felt it coming up, I was like, okay, let's go in the blanket fort. So we went and we were just laying there. And oh, I forgot to mention, we don't have a scale, so it was kind of just an estimate on 4 grams, which do not do unless you are really experienced with mushrooms, because I don't know what 4 grams looks like. I was just going off by my boyfriend's word because he, I guess, does it without a scale a lot. So judging by that experience, I want to say that I did more than 4 grams because it was really intense. So yeah, I'm not exactly sure though. Anyway, as it's coming up, it's very intense, but it's like not a bad intense. Like I was like excited. I was so happy to be in the blanket fort and just with my light, and I had some music going. It was just great. I just felt so good. And I had like the blanket that I put on top was one of our bed sheets, and it has like stripy sort of not stripy, kind of like a brush texture, I guess, where it's like going one way. I don't know. I'll see if I can find a picture. But as I was looking up, because the blanket was kind of like drooping down, I just remember like laughing hysterically and like touching it, and it looked like it reminded me exactly of if you've ever played Super Mario 64 on the DS. It has, I don't know, it might be the same on the Switch. I've never played the one on the Switch, but at the beginning menu, like before you start the game, there's Mario's face, I think, if my memory serves me correct. I haven't played it in a really long time, but I remember a part where you could take your stylus or your finger or whatever on the touch screen on the DS, and it looked like water, like your finger was moving water on the screen. I hope I'm making sense. I will see if I can find a picture of that as well. But anyway, it looked really cool. Like I was having so much fun just doing this. I don't know, I really don't remember that. Maybe this sounds bad, but I don't remember my boyfriend at all for the first half of the trip. I was so in my own world that I just wasn't even paying attention to him. And keep in mind, I still have not went through ego death at this point. I couldn't stop thinking about just what a good time I was having. I was having such a good time, and I was laughing, and I had the Into the Wild soundtrack playing, so that was really heightening my mood as well. Again, I think it's because I watched the movie prior, and it just sort of prepared me to have a spiritual trip, I guess, if that makes sense. But it wasn't until, like, you guys have to realize that ego death is not all rainbows and fairies and ooh. For some people it is, but for a lot of people it's not. It has some rough, dark times in that, and it definitely did for me as well. I remember always hearing about people going through spiritual awakenings, or like, what's the word I'm looking for? Prominence? What's that word? What the hell is that word? Not prominent. It's not prominent. What is it? I don't remember. Whatever. Anyway, I always hear about people having these spiritual awakenings, ego death, and they always made it sound so intense. So when I said that I thought that I was going through ego death every time I did acid, I always thought, what the hell is everyone talking about? Ego death isn't that crazy at all. But that was just me being ignorant and just not knowing what the hell, you know? So anyway, as I'm still having the time of my life, my boyfriend reminds me that his friend and his friend's cousin, who I never met, I met his friend, but I never met his cousin, was coming over. Now, I've always sort of had social anxiety. But if you even have a little bit of social anxiety, and then someone throws that on you while you're tripping on mushrooms, you can't expect that to go well. When he told me that, my heart, I remember, just completely dropped. And I was absolutely dreading this person coming over, even his friend, because I don't know about you guys, but when I'm in the middle of a trip, I get comfortable with my surroundings, I get used to it. I don't want a drastic change, like someone new coming into the picture. Maybe I'm weird like that, I don't know. But at this point, I wasn't worried about his friend. I was only worried about his friend's cousin, because I just have never met her. And like, all of my insecurities just came rushing into my head at once. I started crying a lot. I was crying really hard. And then my boyfriend was like, oh, well, do you want me to tell him to not come? And then I was still tripping out really hard, so I didn't want to do that, because then I would just feel bad for the rest of the trip. I would just feel like a piece of shit. So I said, no, I just don't know what's wrong with me. I don't know why I get anxious like this. I feel stupid. I'm such a crybaby. I'm ugly. I'm fat. I'm worthless. I don't know why I'm even on this planet. I don't want to be on this planet anymore. It was probably my darkest moment ever, to be honest. Like, I'm not a depressed person. Corona's kind of getting me down these days, but I would not consider myself a depressed person. I'm a happy person. So that was kind of out of my element. Meanwhile, the whole time I'm crying and upset about this, my boyfriend's saying things like, why are you anxious? You have no reason to be anxious. Like, just stop being anxious. Why are you anxious? And I remember being really offended at first when he was asking me these things. It almost felt like he was verbally attacking me. At least that's how I was taking it at that time. And some reason, I stopped in my thoughts and I thought for a moment. I was like, you know what? He's kind of right. Why am I anxious? Why don't I just stop being anxious? Am I doing this to myself? And then it was like a complete wave of realization came over me, and it was the most intense feeling I've ever felt in my life. All of a sudden, I was not anxious at all anymore. I wasn't crying. I just said to my boyfriend, I'm like, you're absolutely right. I don't know why I was ever anxious. And it felt amazing. It felt like I was flying in the heavens or something. Like, I know you all have your own religions, your own beliefs, but I personally think that's how your spirit that's how you feel when you die. Just your spirit, no worries, no anxiety, no depression, no like hating on yourself. Like, in that moment, I realized that I need to love myself. I've always loved art ever since I was a baby. I've always loved making art. But I've always been really self-conscious about my art. I've always kind of been, it's not that good, even though people have told me it's good. And that ego death experience made me realize that I am as good as everyone says that I am. I can keep getting better. And like, I need to be sharing my creativity with the world. Like, why wouldn't I do that? It's been my calling since I was a baby. It's almost like I figured out who I was in that moment. And ever since then, like now, especially with the coronavirus, I have felt my anxiety come back. But after the ego death experience, I would strongly, like 100% positively say that I didn't have anxiety for a full 5 months at least. No anxiety at all. I would get waves of happiness in the day and gratefulness to be alive. Like, just so grateful to be able to breathe air, to be able to touch my skin, to be able to touch my boyfriend's skin, to be able to look out my balcony and see a beautiful view, to have a roof over my head, like everything. I was just so grateful for a really long time. Now I finally realize what people mean when they say they've gone through ego death. I still feel like there are quite a few people who don't quite understand what it is. Maybe they think they've gone through it, but they actually haven't. But I also know the full potential of it. And these ego death experiences are what can rid your anxiety, rid your depression, all that stuff, as you might hear from other people. But the only reason I was able to go into ego death is because my boyfriend was there and he was talking me through it, and he got me to see in a different perspective. If there wasn't someone there with me to get my head out of that dark space and literally look to the other side of, like, to the opposite perspective, then I would probably have been way worse off. I would have been in a dark state of mind for a very long time. So no, I do not recommend trying to go get yourself through ego death. You really need to do your research. I don't even know if I can safely tell you how to go through ego death, because I don't even really know how it happened for me. So all I know is that you don't want to try and do it by yourself. Please don't try and do it by yourself. You always want a friend there. And you're always risking the possibility of it worsening your mental state of mind. So just keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. Yeah, I guess that's it. I think my next video I will tell you guys about when I tripped on acid at a music festival, a Shambhala music festival in BC. It was the first time I really tripped at a festival, to be honest, and it was the most intense, crazy experience of my life, and I would do it again. So yeah, that'll be my next video. I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you have any questions, feel free to leave it in the comments. I will get back to all of them. Thank you guys so much to who watches my videos, who subscribe to me. It really means a lot. I love talking about this stuff, so thanks. I guess I'm gonna head it. Oh wait, you guys want to see my new kitten? My new kitten? Y'all want to see my new kitten? Bring her out. Now that the video's over. What are you doing, crazy girl? Look at this girl. She's purring. Oh my god, you guys, she's so fucking cute. Anyway, thanks guys.